All right, I felt I needed to start this off with a little bit of an explanation because the video originally I thought was pretty good, um, but I had to chop it down so much because every time I tried to upload it, it got some copyright bullshit and it was totally blocked. And I never thought that would happen because this whole movie is on YouTube right now in its entirety. Multiple uploads of this movie are on YouTube with thousands of views right now. So I never thought that me using a few short clips here and there on my little pissant channel would be a problem, but I guess I was wrong. I don't know what to tell you. I don't even have a basic understanding of copyright rules. So there are still some clips in it, but they are of very poor quality. Watching this should take you right back to the YouTube of 2006 or so. But most of the time, it's going to seem like there should be a clip, and it's just a still image and me talking over it. So hopefully that's still watchable for the 40 people or so that are going to check this out. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, Commando from 1985, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know a lot has already been said about this movie, so hopefully I'm not being redundant, but I felt like talking about it because it's an insane movie. It might be the most 80s movie ever. Certainly the most 80s action movie ever. It's got all the tropes, the one-liners, the over-the-top acting and action sequences. It's just crazy. It has it all. Even the music is just wild. I mean, if cocaine made a noise, it would be this soundtrack. I mean, it's fucking bizarre. It's got steel drums. I mean, it sounds like I'm sitting at some Hawaiian luau right now, sipping a Mai Tai or some shit. Anyway, let's just dive right into this shit. The movie opens up with some assassins posing as sanitation men to go kill some dude. And the guy they want to kill wakes up to the sound of the garbage men outside his house. He hears the truck, and he thinks that the street has changed the pickup days without notifying him. He gathers up all the garbage in his house to run outside so he can catch the garbage men. I mean, no amount of garbage in my house is going to make me run outside first thing in the morning in my fucking skivvies to catch the garbage man. It's just not going to happen. So these assassins never would have gotten me. I mean, what would they do if he didn't come out of the house? Would they have gone inside? Because why do you need to dress like garbage men to do that? It's just such an insane opening. I love it. And after they've executed this poor paranoid garbage fuckhead, they now find themselves fleeing the scene in the slowest fucking getaway vehicle of all time. They're in a garbage truck. Ah, this movie is profound. Then we get introduced to Arnold, who is playing an ex-military badass named John Matrix. I mean, that's not a real name. John Matrix is not a real name. But that's his name, apparently, in this movie. And he's carrying a tree. And not like a Christmas tree. I mean a fucking sequoia or some shit. He's walking down a mountain with this fucking massive log on his shoulder. And he's going to, because he lives in a fucking log cabin or some shit in the middle of the woods. I don't know where the hell he is. I mean, if you're surrounded by forest, why does he have to go so far away from his house to find a tree to cut? I have so many questions already. Then we get a montage of him hanging out with his daughter, Jenny, who is played by Alyssa Milano. And this montage is wacky. I mean, suddenly this went from an action movie to a Full House spinoff of some kind. I mean, what is happening here? They're feeding a deer, for Christ's sake. What the fuck? Is that typical father-daughter activities? Because I'll tell you what, they're probably going to get ticks. And I have no clue who this kid's mother is. She's never mentioned. I think maybe John Matrix must have grown this child inside one of his pectoral muscles. I think we have to be open to that possibility. I'm just saying. And he and his daughter are having lunch when General Kirby shows up. And and he tells John Matrix that his old Commando unit has been assassinated, and he's worried that he'll be next. And he leaves a whole 2 soldiers with him for protection. And they're just taken out immediately. The bad guys are already there. And John says that he smelled the bad guys coming. I mean, what is this dude, Wolverine? Anyway, the bad guys kidnap Jenny, and this dude tries to bargain with John.
My people got some business with you, and if you want your kid back, then you gotta cooperate, right?
Wrong.
I mean, holy shit, did this dude draw the short straw or something? Because it seems like they were like, hey, one of us needs to stay behind and tell this guy what's up. You know, this super pissed off ex-Black Ops one-man killing machine. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? Anyway, after a bizarre chase, they somehow subdue John Matrix and take him captive, which seems, I mean, judging by the rest of the film, it seems impossible that they were able to do this, but they do it. And they bring him to a former South American dictator named Arias, I think. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but that's his name in the credits. Who I guess is someone that John Matrix managed to topple all by himself. And there's a new leader of whatever country he was in. And he tells John that if he doesn't go whack the current leader of that country, he's going to kill Jenny. So it's a pretty garbage bad guy plan. I mean, clearly this guy has a lot of resources. He probably doesn't need to involve this guy. But that's what he's doing. And this is where he reunites with Bennett, who is a dude that was part of his old team, and Matrix thought he was dead. And he's working for this El Presidente dude. But I just can't believe that this dude is wearing what he's wearing. I mean, look at this shit. He's got a chainmail tank top, leather pants. I mean, if you told me this guy was a character in some low-budget knockoff of Star Wars, I would probably believe it. He looks like a dollar store space pirate. I mean, it's just fucking insane. And then they make John get on a plane with this one dude who, you know, is obviously going to die. I mean, this happens.
Showing our feature film. Your flight attendants are Susan and Lance, and I'm Vicky. We're here to make your trip as comfortable as possible. Thank you and have a safe and enjoyable flight.
I mean, how can you not love it? And then he decides that it's time to jump out of this fucking plane in mid-flight. I mean, yeah, the plane had just taken off. But he lands in a grassy puddle, so it's obviously not very deep water. And even if it was, he still jumped out of a fucking plane at speed. It's madness. Does he have superpowers? Because it seems like he does. And then Matrix kidnaps a flight attendant named Cindy, and that's her name in the credits. I swear, I don't think she ever actually says her name in the movie. And I think it's only actually said out loud by anyone once, by Matrix. So, you know, whatever. And Matrix rips the seat, the passenger seat, out of her fucking car and tells her to follow this big chin motherfucker from the movie Warriors. And they catch up to him at the mall where utter chaos breaks out. I mean, it's like a 3-ring circus. And it starts with the fucking mall cops getting involved, which is just automatically hilarious.
Suspect, 6'2", brown hair. He's one gigantic motherfucker.
And at this point, the dude they're following is onto them. He obviously sees the chaos that's about to happen. And he demands a quarter from Cindy. He needs an emergency quarter so he can go make a phone call to his boss to tell him that Matrix didn't get on the plane. I mean, obviously today he would just take out a cell phone, but right now he needs a quarter really badly. And he says, give me a quarter. I don't remember the last time I was in an emergency quarter situation, but this guy is in one right now. And Matrix rips the phone booth out of the fucking wall and flips it over. I mean, and it's not just like a typical phone booth. This is like a phone tank. And then 87 mall cops show up and attack John Matrix, and he fights them all off. I mean, Paul Blart would have been slaughtered. He would have gotten the ever-loving shit kicked out of him if he was there. It's absolute madness. And the fucking bad guy gets out of the phone booth, and he manages to run back to his car and drives away. And Matrix jumps in Cindy's car and chases him. And Cindy shows up and makes Matrix stop the car so she can get it. I mean, why? Why are you involving yourself further in this? Just let him go. But I guess she kind of has to get involved because she helped him escape, despite the fact that she's the one who told the mall cops that he kidnapped her. So all of this is her fault. This chick is all over the place. I mean, look at this shit.
You ripped the seat out, you kidnapped me, you asked me to help you find your daughter, which I very kindly do, and then you get me involved in a shit out where people are dying and there's blood spurting all over the place, and then I watch you rip a phone booth out of the wall, swing from the ceiling like Tarzan, and then there's a cop that's gonna shoot you and I save you, and he starts chasing me! Are you gonna tell me what's going on or what?
No.
No! No!
Oh, Cindy. What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, first of all, you didn't kindly help him find his daughter. You immediately snitched on him, to a mall cop no less. And then she's surprised when a cop would chase her after saving the guy that she tried to have arrested. It's just fucking wild. And then she gets back into the car with a dude who kidnapped her. Like, if she's so threatened by him and this situation, why would she ever do that? She's as crazy as anyone else in this movie. And they catch up to the dude they're chasing, and they run him off the road, and then they crash.
Are you alright?
I think I'm dead.
You're alright. Wait for me.
Yes, Cindy, you would definitely be dead after a crash like that. Not only because you don't have a seatbelt, but because you don't even have a fucking seat. And Matrix kills this fucking dude, drops him off a cliff, and he finds the hotel room key where he's about to meet some fucking other bad guy, and they head there. This is where Cook shows up. You might recognize him as one of Arnold's buddies from Predator. And he's a Green Beret. But that's not a problem, because John Matrix eats Green Berets for breakfast. And they continue fighting. Obviously, Matrix kills this fucking dude. And they interrupt a couple in the next room who are banging, and she's behind the dude. So clearly, it looks like there's some kind of pegging situation going on, which I think is just great. And they freak out, and her big dumb 80s tits don't have any movement whatsoever. I mean, what a time. What a time. And after the fight with Cook, this is the closest thing to some downtime the movie has. Matrix and Cindy do some investigating, and they find out where Jenny's being held. And then they decide to rob a fucking gun store by driving a bulldozer through it. And I know gun laws can be pretty lax in the United States, but I'm fairly certain no gun store in the country has a fucking rocket launcher for sale. I mean, holy shit. This place sells artillery. I wonder how much it costs. And Matrix gets arrested, and Cindy rescues him by using the rocket launcher.
What the hell was that? God. Jesus Christ!
Are you beginning to see the insanity of this movie. I'm honestly not sure if she's trying to rescue this dude or blow him up. And did the cops live? I have no fucking clue. But Matrix lives because he's just a fucking superhero. Anyway, they steal a little plane and make their way to some fucking island. Bill Paxton makes a cameo. And this is where the final showdown takes place. Arnold gets naked because he has to row, and you obviously can't row anywhere with clothes on. It's a known fact. And then he gets dressed, and that's almost like an action sequence in itself. And then he proceeds to kill hundreds of white dudes in fake mustaches. I mean, it's apocalyptic. He blows up buildings, shoots rocket launchers, kills some dudes with some landscaping tools. It's insane. It's wild. Then he kills the former dictator dude. You know, El Presidente, that's what he calls himself. And now he's looking for Jenny. And Bennett has taken her hostage. And this, I mean, I feel like I could have done a whole video on this fight scene alone. He shoots Matrix in the arm, and all he has to do is kill him. He's got a gun. Matrix doesn't have a gun. But he can't do it because he wants to beat Matrix in a knife fight. He's too prideful to just finish him off.
That's pride fucking with you.
And they start fighting. And it looks like they're in some kind of fucking boiler room. I mean, I don't know where the fuck they are. They look like they're in Freddy Krueger's house, for crying out loud. And every object around them is detachable. Bennett rips the door off a fucking furnace and hits Matrix with it. Somehow he doesn't burn his hands when he does this. I mean, it's insane. And you get to see Bennett's space pirate costume on full display. It's fucking glorious. And of course, Arnold kills the bad guy with a one-liner.
John, I'm not gonna shoot you between the eyes. I'm gonna shoot you between the balls.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
I mean, that scene alone has so much to process. I mean, Bennett is always just talking about what he's going to do instead of actually doing it. He says he's going to shoot him between the balls instead of between the eyes. And so naturally, Matrix comes up with the perfect strategy to rip a fucking pipe out of the wall and hurl it like a javelin at him and impale him. I mean, it's insane. And of course, let off some steam, Bennett. But I don't know why steam is coming out of it. I mean, shouldn't his guts be coming out of it? If he's been impaled? Should be ragu all over the goddamn place. But I guess the steam is funnier. And the implication is that he's just made of farts. And that's basically how the movie ends. Jenny is somehow not traumatized by anything that's happened. And she and Matrix walk back to the plane, and some cornball 80s music starts playing. The end. It's a crazy fucking movie. But it's actually kind of self-aware because Cindy says things throughout the movie that are kind of a commentary on the ridiculousness. She says things like, "This macho bullshit," and "You guys eat too much red meat." It's very tongue-in-cheek. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, really. And they just don't make movies like this anymore. It's a fun fucking movie. And I think if it was made today, you know, it would just be grim and humorless and not fun. And I think the plot would revolve around Matrix carrying out the mission that he's been blackmailed to do. He would actually go and assassinate the leader of the nation that he's supposed to kill. And it would be about that. But Arnold never entertains that for a second. That is never an option for him. He just immediately goes to work killing these dudes. And it's fucking great. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Just remember, if you happen to be a bad guy in an 80s action movie, try not to fuck with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, it never ends well. I mean, he will fuck you up beyond all recognition.